that's not about Dan, it's about me. Being able to label your emotions and what you really need and then request.
Welcome to Stayconomics, the podcast for people who are done pretending turnover is just a part of the business. We're talking the real economics of keeping great humans. Each episode, we will unpack the psychology, the money, and the messy reality behind why people stay or leave before you even know their last name. Expect bold opinions, practical takeaways, and a lot of finally someone said it. So grab a coffee, cancel that pointless meeting, and join us in reinventing how staying actually works. Follow SideUp for more.
Hi guys, I'm Emma. I'm co-founder and COO of SideUp, and today I have here Maytê Carvalho.
Hi.
And we are gonna talk about communication in a workplace.
Yes.
And the impact of it, and what we can get from it, and a very, very good perspective, because the subjects sometimes are underestimated, I think, and number says that people in toxic culture, they leave. It's the first reason that makes people leave. So, Maytê, you are a best-selling author, you are a professor and entrepreneur. And I know that you have an amazing story that we want to listen. So please tell a little bit first before we go
Yes, of course.
into the subject that is so interesting. Tell me a little bit, or tell us a little bit about your story.
Yes, of course. Thanks for having me, Emma. It's such a pleasure to be here with you guys. My name is Maytê. I'm a best-selling author. I wrote a book called Persuasion, How to Pitch Your Ideas and On the Room. This is actually a signed edition that we have at Barnes & Noble that I scooped for the podcast. So you can find it there too. Swipe for more. Besides being a best-selling author, I'm also an entrepreneur. I have a marketing agency and I teach. I've been a guest lecturer here at Pepperdine in LA. And in Brazil, I teach at PUC and SPM. I've been living here in the United States since 2019, and I also give a lot of corporate trainings regarding how to communicate across different cultures, because I had that experience when I first moved from São Paulo, Brazil, to Los Angeles, because I used to be director of business strategist at TBWHI a day here in Playa Vista. Then I moved to New York as chief growth officer for another marketing agency, and now I'm back having my own. So communication is a subject that somehow I orbit around, either as a professor, a book author, or a marketing person, which I am. That's my original background and formation.
You quite put this in a very short
I've been trying
way, because guys, you have no idea. You have to follow Maytê, because she's amazing. I'm a huge fan, you know that.
Yeah, just follow me in my
And
handle here.
I learned so much from you. We're going to talk a little bit about this too. But Maytê, so let's talk about persuasion.
Yes.
So I'm a leader and I have my team. And how can I use persuasion without being manipulative? And of course, bringing a good culture and a relationship with them. How can I use it?
That's a great question, Emma, because a lot of people tend to confuse persuasion with manipulation. If we think about persuasion, that's also a topic that I approach here in my book. The concept to persuade someone is to somehow use your public speaking, your rhetoric, in favor of your own ideals. So if you're able to convince someone that your ideals make sense, that what you're saying has an impact, and if you're able to somehow clarify from your cognition to your mouth and the way you speak, then you're not only being someone that is a good communicator, you're being a great leader. Because to be a good speaker is to be intelligent above all things. What the misconception around persuasion is that it's something that will, in its intricacy, involve like a win-lose situation, and that's not true. Aristotle is considered the father of rhetoric, and by here I will use rhetoric as a synonymous for persuasion. And he said, like, you have to add a layer of ethics in what you're doing. Otherwise, you're just being a liar. So if I am being ethical and I'm using logical reason and numbers to prove and sustain what I'm saying, which is the logos aspect of persuasion, I'm able to somehow pass an emotion to my audience. I'm using the pathos, and I have a solid ethos as a speaker, someone that is credible to my audience. Therefore, what I'm doing is persuading, not necessarily manipulating. I feel the word manipulating has a bad connotation, but if you think about it, it's always implying that it's a win-lose situation. Those books like Robert Greene, the 48 Laws of Power, like I will manipulate you, like propaganda kind of things. And what I propose is like, I can persuade you and you can persuade me because we're all influencing someone and being influenced by them. Perfect. The question is, are you able to convince people of your ideals, or you don't have the resources to explain what you think, what's your POV about things? And that happens a lot in a bunch of corporations because when we are in the workplace, there's a lot of dissonance between what I say and what the other will expect, right? So just like if so many times I'm assuming you're implying something, but I don't really know, and that's how teams get somehow affected by lack of productivity and also a lot of mismanagement because they are not being able to fully translate their ideas into a speech that is convincing and compelling. So the fact that you're studying to be persuasive, it doesn't mean you're a bad person or that you want somehow to, be someone mischievous. It means that you want your ideals and your cognition to transpire when you're speaking. And so many people, not only at work, but in their personal relationships, in their lives, they're not able to fully articulate their thoughts. So once you are exposed to frameworks, theories, and methods that will help you to achieve that, you're not only going to be promoted or have a better professional environment, workplace, you will have a better life. You be protagonist of your own story and not just adjacent and someone that is just like being influenced by people. You'll be able to influence as well.
Yeah, and that brings me to I don't know if you know, but a good communication can improve by 2025 the productivity. And how could I, as a leader, use the communication? How can I improve? What should I be doing to have a very good communication with my team?
The first step when establishing a good communication with your team, especially if you have people that respond to you, you're the leader, is being able to give positive feedbacks that are constructive and not just passive aggressive comments or not just, a good feedback must end with a question mark and not just a dot. You know what I mean? It's like you have to request what you want from your employees and you have to be able to present it in a way that you're holding yourself accountable. And it's not about your employee or your leader or the HR department or the marketing team. No, it's about you. So many times I see in corporations leaders saying like, oh, yeah, this project is not going well because the marketing department once again delayed the report. And because of that, we weren't able to fully, and then the others. When you're a good leader and a good communicator, you're like, that's not about Dan, it's about me. It's not that the marketing team is always like sloppy with the deadlines. I need time. Perfect. I need this to be done in advance because I need a proper schedule. Can you meet me here next time? And then you request. So the number one tip I would do is like, it's not about them, it's about you. Being able to label your emotions and what you really need and then request. Because so many times what I see in corporations, even I have a lot of online courses and mentorings that I do in corporate trainings. A lot of my students and mentees, they come up to me and they're like, oh, my boss never allows me to be a leader. I've been in this company for years. And then this other person just came up and she was assigned to be the leader of a project, but I've been here for 5 years and I haven't been a leader. And then my first question is, well, have you asked? And they're like, no, but he should know. I'm like, no, he shouldn't. You have to ask.
Amazing.
The energy and time you're spending telling me or your colleagues about it, you could just be like, hey, I've been here for 5 years. I did this, and that. I led XYZ growth in this last project. Can I be the leader of the next one? So when you're able to also request, and it's not only on a horizontal level, but always also with your superiors in a sense. Oh, okay, yes, of course. Like, you cannot expect that your leaders will wake up thinking, oh my God, I want to know what's best for Emma. How can I improve Emma's life today in her career? Because they won't. They will be thinking about themselves. So you have to have your own agenda in a sense and fight for it and just request what you want. Like, if we're able to just holding yourself accountable, making those I statements, I need a better deadline. I need, organization and structure and process. I need data-driven methods. It's different than being like, you have no data. You don't respect the deadline, which is an accusation. Just being able to label your emotions, being able to make I statements and then request what you need. That's the very basic first step to establish what we call a nonviolent communication. And it's a method created by Marshall Rosenberg. And it's used like on litigations and divorces and also like all sorts of mediations because it helps both parties to understand where they're coming from and not just making accusations or being passive aggressive because that's not helpful at all. I mean, I know it's hard when you're in the heat of the moment. That's why I have a third tip to add to this portion of advice giving, which is like, are you reacting or are you responding to what people are saying to you? Because so many times we tend to react and we live in a react culture. It's a YouTube react. Like I react to someone's stories. I liked like everything is instant. But responding demands time. It's like a wine that you need the decanter to let it breathe. So if you're always reacting to feedbacks on a corporate setting, you're losing the opportunity to actually respond. And sometimes we just need to take a step back, breathe in, breathe out, and be like, oh, actually what happened is this. Label your own emotion, make the I statements, and then you request. Stop reacting, and that's not only on a corporate setting, that's also when it comes to your personal life, because reacting will prevent you from having a proper response. And so many times we're just like trying to, put down the fires. So start responding instead of reacting. That's a great starting point as well.
Amazing. Very interesting. Very nice. And Maytê, we have around 20 to 30% of turnover, all related to communication. So do you have any example of a strategy that changed that game, like where you saw people leaving or that things were not working well in a company or in a team, and a good communication strategy changed the game?
Yes, especially when there's M&As, where mergers and acquisitions, you have like a different corporate culture, and then some company acquires another company and they're from different countries, let's just say it. And then you have two totally different corporate cultures, and they have to somehow work together, but their backgrounds are just different. One, it's just a Catholic country, and the other one is a Protestant country. One, it's like Anglo-Saxonic, and the other one is Hispanic. So it's like, of course you're going to have issues. There's this author that I love called Erin Meyer. She wrote a book called Culture Map.
That I love.
And it's an amazing book for everyone that needs to navigate between different cultures in a corporate setting. It's a must read. And she talks about how much the notion of hierarchy and how much you can have a sense of active voice in a workplace is measured by how we were treated by our teachers during high school. And she exemplifies saying that a Mexican company bought a Swedish company, and they were having a lot of issues because the Mexicans were complaining like they do not listen to us. They just do whatever they want, and we bought this company. And then she understood that in Mexico, the schools, like, you have to ask for permission for your teacher to go to the bathroom. You have, like, a series of rigid structures. So the professor, it's in a vertical position to you. Meanwhile, in Sweden, it's like a facilitator. You don't have to ask for permission of anything. They're encouraging you to be autonomous, and, like, in a sense, you don't have to ask for permission. So they were facing this cultural clash. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because, like, the way we were taught about power dynamics and structure and figures of authority in our lives are so many different between countries, even sometimes between, like, East Coast and West Coast in the United States, which is the same country. You have such a different ethos when it comes to MO and how people operate. So what I would suggest is, and this is like what I do when I'm consulting with corporations or even giving corporate trainings. I do a bunch in Brazil for IBMs, Stellantis, Google, Fortune 500 companies. It's like, let's first understand the background. Because when you can understand the background, you can have better decision-making processes, and then you can fine-tune your messaging accordingly. Like Brazilians, for example, I'm Brazilian, you are too. Yeah. We have a type of communication that is like high context. Yeah. We add a lot of information, yes, not necessarily a yes or no oriented type of answer. And meanwhile, here in the United States, and not only Brazilians, a lot of Latinos are like this. In the United States, it's like yes or no. I'm asking you a question. How's the report? And you should say 80% done, and the 20% that is left will be done EOD. And then Brazilians tend to be like, actually pretty good. Yeah, I talked to Sarah from HR and she told me, and it's like, we were supposed to deliver yesterday, but then Amanda's neighbor ran her car. And then it's just like, why are you telling me all of this? Yeah. Save the soap opera lore for later. Yeah. And I've seen this so many times with Latin American corporate cultures and American corporate cultures. And it's just like, you're not answering my question. And in Brazilians' mind, it's like, no, I'm giving you all the context. But it's like, exactly, in the US, it's low context. Yes. So like trying to navigate those differences, or even like scheduling. In Brazil, it's fine. Or even some other, like Mexico, like if you show up 10, 15 minutes late, it's perfectly fine. Not in the US, depending on the setting. It's just like they're going to think you're doing a power move, which is not. It's just like the norms are different. So like my first, recommendation would be like, try to understand the background, and the cultural differences would be much helpful to navigate cross-culture, because nowadays a lot of companies, they have the marketing department in somewhere, yes, and then the customer service is in India, and then the tech people are in Norway, or you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just remote working, so you're not like, the level of frictions are just, the layers are adding up and up and up, Yes. So that's what I would say. Try to understand the background first. That will be very helpful.
Yeah. I can totally see this, because that I needed this help to understand, because we have so many people now in different cultures, and I could notice that was like we have a gap of, and something that really impressed me is, for example, the difference between the low contest and high contest in the daily basis communication, and in a feedback. For example, so to Americans, they have a little bit of, they go around to say to you that you are doing something wrong. And we Brazilians are a little bit, we tell a whole story to tell all the things every day, but not a feedback. So a feedback, I look at you and say, yes, Maytê, yes, can we talk about this? And then we are very
You're not going to see that in the US because confrontational means
exactly
different things. It's also one thing that I would say. It's like in Brazil, we're comfortable calling you out for something. So, for example, like let's just say I think you're a bad communicator. Your public speaking skills are not great. I can say in Brazil easily, you're a bad communicator. You need to improve that.
Yeah.
In the United States, they will never address you if it's not a compliment. If it's a compliment, yes, you're a great communicator. But if it's a constructive feedback, your public speaking skills are perceived as weak. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They will go around and name the soft skills or the hard skills and not exactly you as a person. Meanwhile, in Brazil, we're just like, you're suck at speaking. kind of. Yeah, it is, and it's fine.
We're just like, come on,
Yes,
and we handle this better. Like in the end of the day,
I feel like it's just different, you know. I don't like saying better or worse because it's just
you're right. Yeah,
it's just different contexts.
No, but I mean, like, if I say exactly like this to American, I will have a problem. Like if I say to you
compliance and liability,
if I say
could
to
be
you,
harassment.
you're gonna be like, exactly. So, and this is so important to be aware, I think, because I don't know if you know, Maytê, but in hospitality, there's a huge number, I think it's 30% of people who lives, and hospitality has one of the biggest turnover of the market. So in hospitality, they can lose 76% of their people in the first 90 days. It's crazy. And
the cost of training all these people over and over.
Exactly.
When they're starting to get up to speed and ramp up, they leave.
Yes. And the main reason, communication and cultural differences aspects that is happening there. So this is so important to be aware. I wasn't so aware. So, and then I said, like, I have something happening here. I have to understand and it was totally about the differences that we have.
Which is perfectly fine, you know, like, I feel like we can only reproduce the dynamics we only know.
Yeah.
We can only, like, the basis of language as a system is mimicking. Yes. And if you don't have it in your system, how you're supposed to, emulate. Exactly. When I first moved from São Paulo to the United States, I used to work for Omnicom, which is a huge marketing conglomerate. And I was like, fine, I've worked for them before in Brazil. I should be fine. In advertising, we use a bunch of, English words like brainstorming or whatever, marketing per se. There's not even a translate for that. But I used to cry in the bathroom, seriously, because I was just like, what am I even doing here? I barely understand what people are saying. I feel like I lost my superpowers. I cannot articulate my thoughts. Yes. I can't speak smarter. I just sound like I'm dumb. And then I was like, it took me 6 months to figure out, like, the lingo, the vernacular, the MO, and which is fine, you know, like, but if you don't also somehow, my company provided for me, like, tools and courses that help me to develop this. But somehow if the company is not promoting a safe space and environment, like psychological safety for the employee, yes. The expat or whatever, it's kind of hard to retain that talent, because especially in the workplace, we know what we know and what we don't know. But then when we move to a different country or we're talking with different cultures, it's just like, if they could only understand me in my native language, they would see how smart I am, how funny I am. I remember thinking, like, I want to make a joke, yes. But it's like the gap between me thinking and translating, like, I lost the timing of the joke. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So also another advice that I would give, it's like, don't rush. It takes time, you know. There's this metaphor that's like, sometimes you don't need 9 pregnant women in a month. You just need 9 months and 1 pregnant woman. You know what I mean? You have to respect the process of understanding, assimilating the culture you're in. Not only the culture of the country, but the corporate culture. Because let's just say I'm working in the United States, a company based in, New York and a company based in Texas, a company that is a startup that uses, you know, agile methodologies, and it's like sprints and squads, and it's just much more fast paced. And then the other is an insurance company that has been around for 200 years, and it's siloed, and it has a bunch of departments. Like, I'm talking about the same country, but just the organizational culture will be so different. So when I talk about like try to understand where they're coming from, the background, it's not only a different country, it's also like, oh, this is a family owned business, or no, they just went public. Oh, it's a VC backed kind of company. It's a founder led kind of company, because that will inform you of how the decision making process is made, and will help you navigate better the firm. Let's just say it.
I see. And how do you think that we, and I would say like mainly as, how can we, because sometimes I still can see in my own company that sometimes we're not aligned with the vision, the mission. And I'm always we're still small. And I say like, okay, we're small. How I'm gonna reach everyone with the dream? Every time that we are, of course, as much as we grow.
Yeah.
So
a founder has to be a little bit like a cult leader.
Yes, exactly. And so for us,
to attract investors, top tier talent, you know what I mean? You're selling your vision and your dream. There's a fine line, you know.
Yeah, and it happens like, and sometimes when I'm talking to someone and it's just like, no, but I didn't know that, and I feel like I failed. Oh my gosh, how can I have someone in the team that is still, you know, like so I failed. I have to communicate better my vision, my mission, and everyone has to be together. So how do I do it? How can I really put everyone together in small and big companies?
Each company has a different ethos, of course, but I believe that if you're able to always combine a portion of logic, emotion, and your personal credibility to your speech, which is what Aristotle called ethos, pathos, and logos. That's the very first step of using this tripod of checklist, let's just say, that will help you to communicate better. Second, I will say, like, what is the kind of emotion that you're trying to provoke? Is it provocation? Is it intimidation, seduction, temptation? We have leaders, and each one of them, they have a different type of communication. And like, I'll just say, for example, Obama and Trump, like they were both elected in the very same country using different pathos in their communications. One, it's like seductive, optimistic, like, you know, hope, yes, we can. And the other one is a little bit more intimidating, like, you know, let's build a wall and let's make America great again. But both works in the same very country. But you just can't see Trump saying, yes, we can, or Obama saying, make America great again, because it's a different pathos. So what I would suggest to leaders is like, what is the kind of pathos that you want to imprint in your speech? Are you an inspiring leader? Are you a hands-on leader? Are you a fearful leader? Because that can also work. I mean, it's unsustainable for a healthy relationship in the long term. But like, what is your style of communicating? And what's the kind of emotions that you want to provoke in your audience, meaning your employees? Because you can be a very charismatic leader that is data-driven and logos-driven, but you can also be someone that inspired by actions and the pathos that you're provoking. So understanding that style will be helpful when to delivering your message and getting your points across.
Amazing. Maytê, we're getting to the end so fast.
I talk a lot. I don't know. Maybe I like communication a little bit.
No, you're amazing. Come on. And but I really wanted you to explore a little bit, like one habit that we could change tomorrow. Today. I don't like tomorrow. We have to start today. Today, to make this better. What do I do right now?
Okay, so if you want to be a better communicator, start labeling your feelings. Because so many times we don't know what we're feeling. We think we are angry, but we're just sleepy. We think we are, and so many times we tell stories to ourselves that are not even truth. Like, oh, I've been humiliated by my boss. I've been left out in this project by my leader. And it's just you labeling a narrative and not what actually happened. Try to separate the facts from the personal narrative that our neurotic minds tell us.
Yes.
Label your emotions. That would be my very first advice. And then when you understand what you're feeling, it will be much easier to communicate your needs, to make a request. And that will lead you into healthier relationships. Doesn't matter if it's like within your spouse or your boyfriend, girlfriend, or your boss. Like being able to label your feelings and expressing what your needs are will make you a protagonist of your own life.
Amazing. I follow Leila Hormozi. I don't know if you know her, and she has a very good way of seeing it. She said that she separated she gave her brain a name. And sometimes I don't remember the name, but I have my own name. I'm not gonna, because I made the same. And when my brain starts telling me dramatic stories about what I'm thinking, she just said, okay, I got you, I understand, I'm listening to you, but no, I'm gonna write a book about it, but no, this is real life, not what you're telling me.
Totally. Sometimes we have to tell our brains, like, I'm not a fiction writer. I'm a non-fiction writer. I work with facts.
Yes, I thought it was...
Unless you are a fiction writer, then just, write a book.
You use it. You get
write
it
the next Harry Potter. We don't care.
I thought it, and I've been using it. So sometimes when I start, and she says, like, she has very intrusive thoughts, and she said, like, come on, this will never happen. So just I understand, but no. And that's, I think there's a little bit of this, right? That we all should be doing. Last words.
Well, I invite you all to follow me on social media at Maytê Carvalho, at here. It's like a very Latin name. Buy my book. It's at Barnes & Noble, Target.com. You can find it anywhere, Amazon. It's a handbook. It's a practical guide with a bunch of frameworks that will help you to write emails, do follow-ups, give and receive constructive feedback. And just as a last advice, when communicating, try to be yourself, because the privilege of a lifetime is just being who you are. And so many times we waste our times like trying to be someone else, trying to speak like someone, trying to emulate a pattern of behavior. Yes. And when you're authentic, people can tell. So just use this privilege that it is to be you and use your authentic voice. Just lapidate it and fine tune a little bit. And for that, the book can help you. But be yourself, because that's the truly privilege that we have. And that's how we'll build stronger bonding and solid relationships.
Amazing. And I think it's really important to us to be aware, I think, that we can always be better, like always learn more about it, communicate more, and then learn about persuasion, and then learn about how to sell, and using this, like, because they are together but they are kind of separated.
Yeah. And
you can have so many disciplines that you can improve just based in communication, and we can learn, guys. I think this is the don't think that you cannot learn. And employers, you can give benefits to employees that it's totally tax-free, and that can change your culture situation. So, Maytê, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
You're amazing. Honor. You know that I'm a huge fan, and I hope we can do it again soon.
Yes, count on me. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
This episode is brought to you by SideUp, the employee benefit and payment platform that's on a mission to build better relationship between employers and employees. From attracting top talent to supporting their real needs throughout the entire journey with your company, student loans, childcare, wellness, and everyday essentials, SideUp handles all the payments, the compliance, and the admin, so you can focus on being the great employer your team deserves. Because when your people feel truly supported, your business grows, driving up to 23% more profit. Book your free 15-minute demo at sideup.com.